Hello, New York City. I said hello, New York City. There we go. Let's make some noise. That was a nice loud parade. Let's keep the volume up. Someone said to me, are you worried today that there might be thunderstorms? And I said, let it rain, because we're going to provide the thunder. And we did so in the form of a drum circle. So let me begin by saying, peace and power to all species, and welcome to the vegan capital of the world. Welcome to the Veg Pride event here in Union Square Park, on the island of Manhattan, in the city of New York, in the state of New York, in the white supremacist, capitalist, homophobic patriarchy we call America. Welcome. Let me say thank you to Pamela for all the work she does every year to put this event on. Can we get a round of applause for Pamela, please? I think you could do better than that. Come on, let's make some noise. And I want to thank Pamela for being crazy enough to give me a microphone. And I do want to thank her for giving me the opportunity to speak in a park with such a long radical history. There's been a lot of radical activism in Union Square Park, and it continues to this day. And I am always humbled and honored to think that over 100 years ago, standing right here, was a woman by the name of Emma Goldman. Does anybody know Emma Goldman? Can I get a raised fist for Emma Goldman? Put your fists in the air. Keep them up. It's still legal. I think it is. Okay, next. All right. As anyone who knows me knows that I spent 12 years in Catholic school. And when you go to 12 years of Catholic school, you spend a lot of time in church. And there's one thing that I learned in church that I use at all my talks. I'm going to ask each and every one of you to turn to the people in your general vicinity and shake hands. Say hello, hug, kiss, introduce yourself, and maybe do the church thing and say, peace be with you. So indulge me for a couple of seconds here. I promise it'll be better than Facebook. And all we need now is a little hand sanitizer. But just think, a minute ago, I was standing up here in front of an audience. And now I am standing up here as part of a community. You see how easy that is? And since we're all on a first-name basis, I guess I should warn you that my speech has not been approved by the Department of Homeland Security, so you're all listening at your own risk. Now, I know Derek asked this, but how many vegans do we have here today? How many vegetarians do we have here today? How many people on their way to being vegan or vegetarians do we have here today? Nice. What's that? All right. Now, when I get asked to do an event like this, the first question I ask myself is, what am I doing here? What can I bring to this event? And I know here today, I'm looking out here and I see a lot of people with a lot of knowledge about the reasons to go vegan. The ethical reasons, the environmental reasons, the health reasons, the economic reasons, the legal reasons, and so on. So I'm guessing you don't really need me to tell you that. So I'm going to have to think, what can I bring to this? And I got a compliment yesterday that convinced me of what angle I should take. I was at an event at Bryant Park, aka Disobedience School, and I was introduced to someone, and a person nearby said to me, oh, you're Mickey Z. I never met you, but you know what? You're a bit of a household name down in the vegan anarchist squatter community on the Lower East Side. And I said, and this says a lot about me when I tell you that was a profound compliment. That meant a lot to me, and I realized that what I could bring to this event is discussion of activism. Because what we as vegans have in common is we have all this knowledge in our head and we want to share it, but sometimes it seems like nobody wants to hear it. You know, someone says, you eat what you want to eat and I'll eat what I want to eat, and it's nobody's business. And then you want to say to them, well, you know, billions of animals are murdered each year for food, and this global death industry is the #1 source of greenhouse gases, so basically climate change is my business. But that's when they kind of shut you down. And you sometimes feel like I have all this information I want to share, and it's like talking to a wall. It goes in one ear and out the other. But something is happening to change that. If you were here last year at Veg Pride, and you're here now, something happened in that time period, between then and now. Something has changed, making this possibly the best time ever to be a vegan or animal rights activist. It's a little something I like to call Occupy Wall Street. Anybody hear of that? I said, anybody here of Occupy Wall Street? Do we have any occupiers here today? Can I get some fingers? Now let me do this now to get it out of the way. Occupiers, meet the animal rights activists. Animal rights activists, meet the occupiers. Now let's get our shit together and change the world. If we work together, we are unstoppable. And you guys already have a lot in common. We're marginalized and misrepresented in the media. We're called dreamers and idealists. We're mocked and ignored. And some people say, well, I like some of what you guys say, but you're just so damn radical. Or you're too militant. So you can bond over that. But I'll tell you one thing, there's one big difference I could see between occupiers and vegans standing up here right now, is that I just was on a march that we walked in the street that had a permit. And I have a microphone. And all these tables are here and none of them are going to get torn down. And the cops are pretty much just minding their own business. On the south side of the park, a little something different is going on. There's no permits. There's no microphones. There's a lot of barricades. And the cops aren't minding their own business. If you pull out a piece of chalk, you better have the National Lawyers Guild number written on your arm. So I say to the vegan activists and the animal rights activists, maybe we should find out what they're doing that's scaring the 1% so much that they're calling out the repression 24/7. Maybe we should find out what's going on over there and get together. Maybe we should. Now, as I said, you guys have a lot in common, and I can tell you from personal experience, 8 months of personal experience, that within this movement are some of the most creative and fierce and enduring and intelligent and open-minded activists I've ever met in my life. They want to hear what you have to say. This is the best time ever to be an animal rights activist because you have a motivated group of activists dying to learn more every single day and teach you every single day. The essence of activism is to be a teacher and a student at the same time. So why not take some time to wander over to the south side of the park at some point and connect? So, I stand up here proudly as a vegan. I stand up here proudly as an animal rights activist. Check that, as an animal liberation activist. I stand up here proudly as an occupier. But perhaps most importantly, I stand up here as an earthling, because that is the identification that connects us all. If we identify in that way, we can connect with all human beings and all life and the ecosystem itself. And that's how we unite. It is what we chanted in the parade about being one struggle. It is one struggle. All of our grievances are connected. Let me say that again. All of our grievances are connected. We can't be single-issue activists. We need to connect as widely as we can. And I'm not saying that Occupy or animal rights or anyone is a perfect movement, but the goal isn't perfection. The goal is justice. To struggle for change is to risk imperfection. So I urge you to choose risk imperfection, choose process over purity, and connect with somebody that maybe you kind of disagree with a little bit. There's enough room at the activist table for all of us. So come to the table, sit next to somebody you disagree with, and let's have a table where there's no dead animals on it. There we go. Now, let me check my notes here. What I want to urge everyone here is it's great to be an activist, but it's not enough to rise above the latest man-made conflict and declare yourself a humanist. As I said, we must choose to go deeper and identify as earthlings and stand in solidarity with all of our fellow earthlings, fists raised. So let me try this again. Can I get a raised fist from Union Square Park today? Who can put their fists in the air and keep it in the air? See what it feels like to have your fists in the air. It's still legal, I said. Keep it up there. Look around. These are your comrades. Put your fists in the air. It feels good. It kind of feels like revolution.
Yeah!
So let's be clear about this. Veganism is an Occupy Wall Street issue. Animal liberation is an Occupy Wall Street issue. It is all connected in a culture based on an insane premise of unlimited growth. Therefore, it must all remain connected within any movement that claims to aim for holistic justice. And what we need is holistic justice because our ecosystem is on the brink. I don't think anybody's going to argue when I say the ecosystem is on the brink. If you've heard my talks before, you know the numbers already. 80% of the trees are gone. 90% of the large fish are gone. 200,000 acres of rainforest every day gone. 200 species of plant and animal every day. I could go on for hours, but I don't think anyone's going to argue that the ecosystem is on the brink. Can we agree on that? So, considering that we all play a role in pushing it to the brink, either through our lifestyle or our silence, we do know that there are global criminals most responsible for pushing it to the brink. Global criminals now identified as the 1%. So I have a question for you. Does anyone here in Union Square Park today believe that the 1% will voluntarily give up power anytime soon? No. Show of hands if you believe that. So let's recap. Everyone agrees the ecosystem is on the brink. But everyone agrees that the people pushing it to the brink aren't going to stop doing that anytime soon voluntarily. So what does that mean? It means it's up to us. It means that we are the ones the planet has been waiting for. Our government doesn't represent us. Our Supreme Court doesn't represent us. They never did. They never will, as it should be. Change doesn't come from the top down. We have to create that kind of change. We are the lucky ones who've been chosen for the most important mission in the history of human struggle, and that mission is survival. So I'm urging you to connect here today with your comrades, even if you don't agree 100%. As I said, it's not about perfection. It's about creating change. What we need to do is stop acting like we are the last generation of humans and reinvent and reimagine our relationship with the natural world. And I say to the activists out here today who have yet to embrace veganism or animal rights, if you're already working to dismantle corporate power, if you're already working to expand freedoms, if you're already working to create a safer, more sane culture, you already have a whole lot in common with animal rights activists. So why not go a little further and recognize that the mighty 99% includes non-human animals and it includes the ecosystem itself. There we go. Remember, the 1% want us divided. They want us skeptical, they want us misunderstood and marginalized, and they want us to focus on single issues. Single issues are crucial. It's important to focus on single issues. If we can end the carriage horse industry up by Central Park, and we can get gay marriage legalized in all 50 states, and we can get single-payer health care instituted, it won't matter if we don't have a functioning ecosystem. So we need to focus on small picture and big picture at the same time. The bigger the movement, the more we can cover. We don't have to agree. It's not about perfection. It's about solidarity and community. To me, the goal is to defend our collective soul, and I'll explain what I mean by that. In the book, The Grapes of Wrath, the Tom Joad character says, maybe we're not all individual souls, but maybe we're all part of one big soul. Now this may sound incredibly basic, but within that simplicity lies what I believe to be the activist secret. For if we were to look upon all living things, including ourselves, as part of one collective soul, how could we not defend that collective soul by any means necessary? In fact, what better definition for activism can we have than that? Defending our collective soul by any means necessary. Now, that means if I was to ask Union Park here today, how would you defend each other? You might say by any means necessary, so I'll give it a shot. Union Square Park, how will you defend each other? I don't hear that. How will you defend each other? How will you defend the animals? How will you defend the ecosystem? And how will we finally win? It's time for us to win. I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of losing. It's time for us to win. And the bigger the movement, the faster we can win. The bottom line to remember is that we have truth and justice on our side. There are dark days behind and dark days ahead, but do not fear, we have truth and justice on our side. And what better purpose in life could anyone have than this, than to leave the planet much better off than how we found it? This way, when future generations say to you, what did you do during this most momentous time in human history? What did you do to defend all life on Earth? You can give a very simple and honest reply. You could say, I did my part. Now, this is a presidential election year, and I tend to get nervous in presidential election years because so many of my comrades on the left tend to lose their mind. They tend to buy into the bullshit. They fall for the two-party stuff. So I am begging my comrades here, comrades across the board, occupiers, vegans, animal rights, and so on, to not buy into it this year, to stay strong, to think for yourself, to not think that change comes from top down, and no matter what you hear coming out of the mouth of George W. Obama, just remember that the truth remains. Action is always better than hope. And when I talk about action, in the spirit of my talk today, such action might be to occupy the slaughterhouses, and occupy the carriage horse drivers, and the whaling ships, and the veal crates, and the vivisection labs, and the battery cages. Occupy the fur farms and the dog fighting rings. Occupy the zoos and the circuses and the rodeos. And how will we occupy them? By any means necessary. Peace and power to all species. Thank you for listening. And thank you to the drum circle. Much respect for showing up. Appreciate it. Pamela. Hello, Pamela.